viewers, followers, and subscribers. I'm glad to welcome you to another episode of Eagle Strength TV. Today, I want to take on a very controversial issues in Christendom, at home in Nigeria here and abroad, which is should a Christian pay tithes or collect tithe in the New Testament. I've listened to different preachers and scholars on this interesting topic, and I was able to gather some views, but there's one point that I deduce in those people that are enforcing payment of tithing in the New Testament. There is no any direct scriptural emphasis in the New Testament. And I want to draw your attention back to the Malachi chapter 3 from verse 8 to 12, which has been their reference point whenever they want to enforce payment of tithes in their churches. So I'll be glad if you follow me to read. Yes. Malachi chapter 3 from verse 8 to 12 fall under the Old Testament. And I read, "Will a man rob God? Yet he has robbed me. But ye say, wherein have we robbed thee? In tithes and offering. Ye are cursed with a curse, for ye have robbed me, even these whole nations." This was a reference to the nation of Israel under the Old Testament. "Bring ye all," the tithe, verse 10, "into the storehouse, that there may be meat in my house. And prove me now herewith, said the Lord of hosts, if I will not open the window of heaven and pour you out a blessing, that there should not be room enough to receive it. And I will rebuke the devourer for your sake, and he shall not destroy the fruit of your ground, neither shall your vine cast their fruit before the time in feed, said the Lord of hosts. All nations shall call you blessed, for ye have a delightsome land, said the Lord of hosts." In the recent year, in this side of the world, this issue raised its ugly head again, where there are different positions as being emphasized by different general overseers and church leaders. There are many schools of thoughts that I was able to harness on these issues. The first school of thought is some GO argue and emphasize that failure to pay tithes will bring abject poverty to the Christian worshiper in the New Testament. That is their positions. Another school of thought says failure to pay tithes in the New Testament, you will go to hell, regardless of your dedication, regardless of your service to the Lord, regardless of your activities in furthering the gospel, regardless of the manifestation of good that Lord has used your gift to benefit so many people. Regardless of the life you are living, they say if you don't pay tithes, you will go to hell. At another time, there is another school of thought that the law to pay tithe was made under Old Testament, but it became a law for the New Testament people to support the furtherance of the gospel. So that therefore, despite the fact the law of commandment to pay tithe was in under Old Testament, it is still in enforcing in the New Testament. That is their position. Some even insisted that tithe must be in materials, like in the Old Testament. This school of thought believe New Testament Christian can pay tithes. That it was paid exactly in the Old Testament. It should be in materials, you bring the fruit of your land, the farm crops, the livestock, and all of that. That is their positions. I need to say this on this position of whether the payment of tax should be in farm crops, livestock, or in monetary value. You will understand that in those days in the world then, the major occupations of the habitat of the world then was agrarian. So there's no way the emphasis on monetary value was very low. So that was why they were made under the law to be offering farm crops and livestock as tenths of their tenth for the priest. Now in the present world, we are living in a currency value world where 80% or 90% of the entire of the world are no more in the farm. It has to be with occupations that hands money. So that is why I believe that the emphasis, if tithe should be paid in the New Testament, should be shifted from crops, farm crops, and livestock. It should be in monetary value. You will agree with me, we get there in the scriptures, that even when Jesus Christ was here, he was not stationed in the temple. It was like a mobile temple, moving from one village to another, from one community to another, from one state to another, to preach the gospel. So he was not, there was offering that was made, always made to him to support his ministry. You agree with me? Back then, since the day of the Lord Jesus Christ, has been on monetary value. It wasn't, no, there was no embassy that somebody brought a yam or whatever to him. It was money, because it's not a station person. He moved from one place to another. So I will support if we have to pay, as we will realize in our studies, as we go through the Bible, if tithe should be paid in the New Testament, there is nothing bad with monetary paying by monetary value. Now, on this note, I want us to really go back to the Old Testament. How did Israel came about tithing? Because Israel as a nation was given by God of Israel this law to manage the affairs of their nations. There wasn't any law in those days that was like Israel. Are you telling me about their mode of worships, the payment of tithes, the sacrifices, and all of that? So if we were to go back to, before we can understand why payment of tithes should be in the New Testament or should remain in the Old Testament, we must go back to the root of how did the Israelites came about paying tithes. This will take us to Genesis chapter 14. You can go with me. Genesis chapter 14. Verse 17 to 20. I read. And the king of Sodom went out to meet him after his return from the slaughter of Chedorlaomer, and of the kings that were with him at the valley of Shavin, which is the king's dale. That was Abraham. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and was the priest of the Most High God. And he blessed him and said to Abraham of the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth, and blessed be the Most High God, which has delivered thy enemy into thy hand, and give him tithe of all. And Abraham gave him tithe of all. So this was the first time that the payment and taking of tithes have a record in the Bible. Before this time, there wasn't any record of payment of tithes or taking of tithes by anybody in the Bible. So from here, in the next episode, we will see how this payment of tithe and offering transcends. From here, we are going to see in the next episode how payment of tithes and collecting of tithes was transferred to build a culture and practices in Israel. Thank you, and God bless you.